Have you ever met someone who doesn't speak much, but somehow says everything without a word? They don't chase attention. They don't seek approval. Yet people feel drawn to them, without even knowing why. This kind of undeniable attractiveness has nothing to do with looks, charm, or status. It's rooted in how they live, how they carry themselves, and what they silently stand for. And what if I told you that many of these magnetic traits can be learned, not through games or gimmicks, but through the timeless wisdom of the Stoics? In this video, we'll explore 15 Stoic habits that quietly command respect, admiration, and attraction. Because the most powerful men don't impress with noise. They move with calm, clarity, and purpose. Habit 1. Grounded in self-respect. Attractiveness doesn't begin with words, status, or appearance. It begins in silence. In the quiet, unspoken way, a man holds himself when no one else is around. True self-respect isn't loud. It doesn't try to prove anything. Instead, it reveals itself slowly in the consistency of your choices, in the values you refuse to compromise, and in the discipline you uphold, even when it's inconvenient. A man grounded in self-respect doesn't need to seek validation. He's already given it to himself. This kind of man doesn't demand respect. He commands it, not with force, but with integrity. People sense it in his presence, in the way he listens more than he speaks, in how he doesn't chase attention, yet still manages to draw it. He doesn't try to fit in where he doesn't belong. He doesn't shrink to please others, nor does he inflate himself to be admired. He simply is, whole, anchored, steady. And in that steadiness, there is undeniable power. The Stoics understood that self-respect is the cornerstone of inner freedom. Epictetus wrote, "Know first who you are, and then adorn yourself accordingly, not with the masks of ego or the armor of false confidence, but with habits, actions, and a mindset that reflects the truth of who you are." When you build your life around your principles, when your decisions are guided by virtue rather than fear, you begin to radiate something rare, moral authority, and people are drawn to it. They might not understand why, but they feel it. You become the kind of man who doesn't flinch under pressure, who says no without guilt, who walks away from things that diminish him, even if they seem tempting. Because you've stopped asking, "Will they like me?" and started asking, "Is this aligned with who I'm becoming?" That internal shift rewires everything. You no longer act from scarcity. You act from clarity. You no longer beg to be seen. You see yourself. And when you do, others can't help but notice. This is what makes self-respect silently magnetic. It doesn't sparkle. It doesn't shout, but it leaves a lasting impression, one that lingers long after you've left the room. In a world obsessed with performance and appearance, self-respect offers something real. And in that reality lies your quiet, unshakable strength. Habit 2. Emotional stillness. In a world that rewards the loudest voice and the quickest reaction, the man who remains still becomes a mystery. He doesn't compete for space in a conversation. He doesn't explode when triggered. Instead, he observes. He breathes. He waits. Emotional stillness is not numbness. It's mastery. It is the disciplined refusal to let the outside world dictate your inner world. And in a culture of overreaction, that kind of poise is both rare and profoundly attractive. A man with emotional stillness doesn't let small inconveniences become personal attacks. He doesn't escalate tension, he diffuses it. When others are flustered, he remains composed. When people try to provoke him, he sees it for what it is, a test. He's not repressing emotions. He feels everything, but he refuses to be ruled by those feelings. And that quiet self-command sends a clear signal. I'm not here to be rattled. I'm here to lead. Marcus Aurelius understood the weight of emotional control better than most. As Emperor of Rome, he wrote not for applause, but for discipline. In Meditations, he reminded himself daily, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. That's not theory, that's training. That's what it means to prepare yourself for a life lived above the noise. And people feel this training when they're around you. They feel it when you pause before responding, when your voice remains even when challenged, when your energy is calm, even when the room is tense. Emotional stillness isn't just attractive, it's contagious. It shifts the energy of a space. People begin to trust you more, not because you're trying to win them over, but because your presence makes them feel safer. But this kind of stillness doesn't come easily. It's earned, built slowly through moments of discomfort, where you choose awareness over reaction. It starts by observing your impulses, watching the anger rise without feeding it, noticing the anxiety without becoming it, and then choosing your response, choosing presence over panic, discipline over drama. And that choice, again and again, creates a presence people remember, not because you were loud, not because you dominated the conversation, but because you stood there, fully grounded, when others lost their footing. In that moment, you became magnetic, not by force, but by example, because stillness is strength. And in the Stoic man, that strength never needs to shout. Habit 3. Relentless integrity. Integrity is the quiet backbone of undeniable attraction. It is not about perfection or rigidity. Rather, it is about wholeness, the alignment of your inner world with your outer actions. It means living so consistently with your values that your behavior becomes a natural extension of who you are, not a performance to impress others. When your words and deeds walk hand in hand, something rare happens. People begin to trust you deeply, not because you convince them, but because they have witnessed your unwavering character over time. In a world where promises are frequently broken and sincerity often feels scarce, a man of integrity stands out, not with noise, but with a silent authority. His reputation is earned quietly in the unseen moments, the times when no one is watching, yet he chooses honesty over convenience, principle over compromise. It is in these moments, away from the spotlight, that his true character is forged. Each choice to act rightly, no matter how small or difficult, builds an unshakable foundation that radiates strength and reliability. The Stoics understood the immense value of this inner consistency. Seneca's words echo through time. What is required is not a lot of words, but effectual ones. In essence, virtue is demonstrated through action, not empty talk. The man who embodies this teaching becomes a living testament to his beliefs. He doesn't need to explain or justify himself. His life tells a story. This silent demonstration of integrity commands respect and admiration far more powerfully than any boast or spectacle ever could. When you cultivate relentless integrity, you become someone others naturally turn to, someone who offers stability amid chaos. People know that your word is your bond, that you will stand by your principles even when it's inconvenient or unpopular. This unwavering reliability is magnetic because it taps into a deep human desire for trust and authenticity, qualities that are becoming increasingly rare. But integrity is not a one-time act. It is a lifelong discipline. It requires constant vigilance, self-reflection, and courage to face your own weaknesses honestly. There will be moments when shortcuts seem tempting, or when bending your values might offer easier gains. It is precisely in these moments that integrity reveals its true power. Choosing the harder path, choosing truth over expediency, cements your reputation as a man of substance. In living with relentless integrity, you craft a legacy far beyond fleeting impressions. Your presence leaves a lasting mark because it is built on truth. People don't just remember what you said or did. They remember the steadiness of your character and the quiet confidence that came with it. And that, more than anything else, is what makes you undeniably attractive. Habit 4. Mastery of presence. In today's world, presence has become a scarce commodity. The constant barrage of notifications, the never-ending to-do lists, and the flood of distractions pull most men away from the moment. They exist, but rarely live fully in the here and now. The man who masters presence stands apart because he chooses to anchor himself deliberately in each moment. He understands that true power lies not in multitasking or rushing, but in the ability to focus wholly, body, mind, and spirit, on what is right in front of him. Presence is more than attention. It is an act of respect. Respect for the people you interact with, respect for your own time, and respect for life itself. When you are fully present, you communicate silently that the other person, the situation, and this moment are valuable. This kind of respect is magnetic. It creates an invisible bond of trust and safety. People feel genuinely heard and seen, a feeling so rare in today's world that it becomes unforgettable. Marcus Aurelius' instruction to confine yourself to the present carries deep wisdom. The past, with its regrets and mistakes, is gone. The future, with its unknowns and fears, is not yet here. The only true possession you have is this moment, right now. When you grasp this, you reclaim control over your experience. You stop being a slave to distractions and impulses, and start responding with calm intention. Mastering presence demands discipline. It means training yourself to silence the endless chatter of your mind, the worries, the judgments, the distractions, and to root yourself firmly in the present. It requires resisting the urge to reach for your phone during conversations, to stop mentally rehearsing your next move, or to tune out because your mind is elsewhere. It is about truly listening without judgment or interruption, and engaging deeply. This practice of presence transforms not only your relationships, but your entire life experience. It fosters patience because you are no longer impatiently waiting for what's next. It cultivates empathy as you become attuned to subtle emotions and unspoken words. It brings clarity, allowing you to make wiser decisions, grounded in reality rather than noise. Living with presence also cultivates an inner calm that others pick up on instantly. Your energy shifts from scattered to focused, from reactive to thoughtful. In a world filled with chaos, you become a refuge, a steady point of calm that draws people naturally toward you. This quiet strength is more attractive than any flashy display. It says without words that you are a man in control of his mind and life. Presence is not a state you reach and forget. It is a lifelong practice, an ongoing commitment to show up fully for yourself and others, moment by moment. And as you build this habit, you'll notice a profound change. Your interactions become richer, your mind clearer, and your life more meaningful. You will begin to carry a magnetic presence that commands attention, not through noise or ego, but through the powerful simplicity of being truly there. Habit 5. The power of silence. Silence is one of the most misunderstood forces in a world drowning in noise. Society teaches us to fill every moment with words, opinions, reactions, and social media posts. Yet, true power often lies in the absence of speech. The man who masters silence understands that not every moment demands a response, and that sometimes the greatest strength is found in restraint. Consider the subtle authority that silence holds in any room. When conversations escalate into chaos, the one who remains calm and silent shifts the energy. Their silence becomes a wall, a pause that unsettles the frantic rush to dominate. It is a refusal to be drawn into unnecessary conflict. In this moment, silence speaks volumes. It communicates self-control, depth, and the unshakable confidence of a man who does not need to prove himself to anyone. Historically, the greatest leaders and philosophers knew this well. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, chose his words with care, understanding that silence often communicates more than speech. Epictetus' advice, be silent, or let your words be worth more than silence, calls us to value words as precious commodities, not to be wasted on trivialities or empty noise. When you speak less but say more, your voice gains weight and your presence commands attention. This power of silence also extends to the realm of relationships and social dynamics. In a culture obsessed with oversharing, the man who keeps parts of himself guarded fosters intrigue. By not revealing everything at once, he becomes a puzzle that others want to solve, a mystery that draws people in with curiosity and respect. This deliberate silence creates space for meaningful connections to form, rooted in depth rather than superficiality. Silence is not avoidance, however. It is an intentional choice to listen deeply, to yourself and to others. It is a practice of mindfulness that demands you resist the urge to react impulsively or fill uncomfortable pauses with filler words. Instead, you embrace those moments, allowing them to exist and respond with clarity and purpose when the time is right. Real mastery of silence requires courage. It demands that you resist social pressures to conform to constant communication and performative expression. It requires patience to hold your tongue when it would be easier to speak, and wisdom to know when your voice will have the greatest impact. It means trusting yourself enough to know that you do not have to be constantly heard to be valued. Modern examples abound. Great negotiators often use silence strategically, letting the other party fill the void, revealing more than they intended. Powerful speakers know when to pause, letting their words sink in rather than rushing through their message. Even in everyday life, the man who listens more than he talks stands out as rare, magnetic, and deeply respected. In embracing silence, you create an aura of calm control. You show that your presence alone is enough. This quiet confidence fosters trust and respect, making others feel safe and valued in your company. Your silence is not emptiness. It is a sanctuary of strength, a deliberate pause that commands attention and leaves a lasting impression. In the end, the power of silence is a practice of self-mastery. It invites reflection, cultivates depth, and guards your energy. In a world that clamors for constant noise, silence becomes your greatest ally, a shield and a sword. When you master it, you become a man whose presence speaks louder than words, whose quiet strength draws others irresistibly, and whose inner calm is an unbreakable foundation for lasting attraction. Habit 6. The discipline of self-control. Self-control is the cornerstone of all personal power. It is the unseen force that shapes every great decision, every moment of composure, and every act of courage. But it is far more than mere restraint. True self-control is the mastery of desire, the ability to bend fleeting impulses to the will of your higher purpose. The man who embodies this discipline moves through life with a quiet authority, commanding his actions rather than being commanded by them. In a world that bombards us with instant gratification, temptations at every corner, distractions designed to fragment attention, and social pressures that exploit our weaknesses, self-control stands as a radical act of rebellion. It demands courage. It requires the strength to say no, even when the easier path is to give in. It calls for patience, to endure discomfort, delay pleasure, and keep your eyes fixed on goals that may take years to reach. This is not a burden, but liberation, a freedom from the chaos of impulsivity and the tyranny of external validation. The Stoics understood this truth intimately. Seneca's words resonate through time. No man is free who is not master of himself. Freedom, in their philosophy, was never about external circumstances, but internal mastery. To govern your passions, thoughts, and reactions is to reclaim your sovereignty. It is to cut the strings that others attempt to pull, whether through temptation, fear, or societal expectation, and to become the architect of your own life. Self-control transcends physical desires and extends deeply into the realm of the mind. It means choosing reason over anger, patience over frustration, and humility over envy. When provoked, the man with self-control does not lash out or crumble under pressure. Instead, he pauses, assesses, and responds thoughtfully. He remains steady in the face of chaos, a rock unmoved by the waves of emotion crashing around him. This mental discipline inspires trust and admiration, as it signals a man who will not be easily swayed or broken. Developing this level of self-control is not instantaneous. It is forged daily, often in small, seemingly insignificant moments. It may start with resisting the pull of your phone during a conversation, speaking only when your words carry weight, or sticking to a simple morning ritual, even when your motivation wanes. Each act of deliberate restraint adds a brick to the foundation of your discipline, building momentum toward a life lived with intentionality and integrity. Consider the modern example of an athlete or artist who rises before dawn, sacrificing comfort and leisure to practice their craft. Their self-control is what turns talent into mastery. Or the entrepreneur who resists shortcuts, remains patient through failures, and consistently invests effort over time. Their discipline is what transforms ideas into empires. This same principle applies universally, whether in health, relationships, or personal growth. The man who exercises self-control gains power over himself and consequently over his environment. This habitual discipline becomes visible in how you carry yourself: calm, focused, deliberate. People instinctively recognize the quiet confidence born from self-mastery. They sense that you do not act impulsively or scatter your energy aimlessly. Instead, you are a man who respects his own worth enough to make choices aligned with his deepest values. This resilience in adversity, this consistency in character, creates an aura of strength that is irresistibly attractive. In a world ruled by impulsivity, distraction, and superficiality, cultivating self-control sets you apart as a man of substance. It is the invisible thread that connects your intentions with your actions, your desires with your discipline, and your dreams with your reality. To master self-control is to master yourself, and that mastery is the foundation of true lasting attraction. Habit 7. Cultivating compassion. In a world that often prizes toughness and individualism above all else, compassion is sometimes dismissed as softness or weakness. Yet, within the depths of Stoic philosophy, compassion emerges as one of the greatest strengths a man can embody. It is not a surrender to vulnerability, but a conscious, deliberate choice to engage with the world and with people through empathy, understanding, and kindness. The man who cultivates compassion moves through life anchored in resilience, aware that true strength flows from connection, not isolation. The Stoics taught that we are all threads woven into the fabric of a greater whole. Marcus Aurelius, in his private reflections, constantly reminded himself of our shared nature. When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. They are like this because they can't tell good from evil. But instead of recoiling in frustration, he chose to respond with patience and empathy, recognizing that all people are flawed and struggling, just like him. This radical empathy dissolves the walls we often build between ourselves and others, allowing compassion to arise from understanding rather than judgment. But compassion is no naive indulgence. It does not mean excusing bad behavior or sacrificing your principles. Instead, it is a delicate balance, a harmony between strength and kindness. Compassion requires you to hold your own boundaries firmly while extending genuine care to others. It means listening deeply without judgment, offering help without expectation, and being present without losing yourself. This balance cultivates a magnetic presence. People sense your authentic concern, which draws them in and makes them feel genuinely valued and understood. True compassion begins with self-compassion. Too often, men are harshest on themselves, holding unforgiving standards, engaging in brutal self-criticism, and neglecting their own emotional needs. Yet, to extend genuine compassion outward, you must first cultivate it inward. Stoicism teaches us to treat ourselves as we would a close friend, with patience, understanding, and kindness. This practice builds emotional resilience and prepares you to face the pain and struggles of others without being overwhelmed or detached. When compassion is cultivated and practiced, it transforms relationships from superficial exchanges into profound trusting connections. It builds loyalty and deepens bonds because others feel safe in your presence, knowing you will listen without judgment and support without conditions. This genuine empathy addresses a fundamental human need, the need to be seen, heard, and accepted for who we truly are. In today's fast-paced, often self-centered culture, compassion is rare because it requires vulnerability and courage. It requires a man to open his heart without relinquishing his strength. It means leading with kindness in a world that often confuses kindness with weakness. The Stoics did not view compassion as a soft trait. Rather, they saw it as the highest expression of strength, a testament to a man who has mastered himself enough to be fully present for others in their moments of need. To cultivate this habit, Begin with small acts of kindness and understanding in your daily interactions. Notice when you judge others and pause to consider their perspective. Practice patience when faced with frustration or conflict, reminding yourself that everyone battles unseen struggles. Cultivate gratitude for the opportunity to connect and support others, recognizing this as a form of personal growth. Ultimately, compassion is the bridge between self-mastery and social harmony. It grounds you in your own strength while fostering genuine connection with the world. It is the quiet force that makes you not just respected, but deeply loved and remembered. When you embrace compassion as a habit, you become a man whose presence radiates warmth, wisdom, and unshakable strength. A presence that leaves a lasting impact far beyond words. Habit 8. Embracing memento mori. Among the most profound teachings of Stoicism is the practice of memento mori, the constant awareness that death is inevitable. Far from being morbid or fearful, this habit is a source of immense clarity and strength. It forces a man to confront the finite nature of his existence, transforming how he values time, makes decisions, and lives his daily life. To truly embrace memento mori is to live without illusion, recognizing that every moment is both precious and fleeting. Marcus Aurelius, a Stoic philosopher and Roman emperor, reminded himself daily, "Do not act as if you were going to live 10,000 years. Death hangs over you. While you live, while it is in your power, be good." This sobering reflection does not incite despair, but urges urgency and virtue. It strips away the distractions of trivial worries and shallow pursuits, illuminating what truly deserves a man's energy: his character, his purpose, his relationships. Living with this awareness instills a profound perspective. When you know that your time is limited, the petty annoyances that once consumed you lose their power. The fear of failure or judgment diminishes because you understand the insignificance of external opinions in the face of mortality. You begin to prioritize meaning over comfort, impact over approval, action over procrastination. In modern life, few practices capture this as effectively as daily reflection on memento mori. Consider the athlete who trains relentlessly, driven not by vanity, but by a commitment to excellence, knowing his window is limited. Or the entrepreneur who embraces risk with courage, aware that hesitation is a luxury he cannot afford. Or simply the man who chooses to spend quality time with loved ones, fully present, because he understands that these moments are irreplaceable. This habit also transforms fear. Death is no longer a looming terror, but a teacher. It reveals the true value of living and frees a man from the paralysis of anxiety. In accepting death, he embraces life more fully, boldly, authentically, and with gratitude. It is a daily reminder that time is the most precious resource, and how it is spent defines the man. Memento mori sharpens decision-making by cutting through the noise of distraction. When faced with choices, the man grounded in these habits asks himself, "Will this matter at the end of my life?" This simple but profound question refocuses priorities and channels energy toward what is truly valuable. It fuels resilience, propels purpose, and fosters peace of mind. Ultimately, embracing memento mori is about living deliberately and with intention. It is about facing the inevitable with courage so that you may live each day with passion and meaning. The man who carries this habit does not waste time in trivial pursuits or empty distractions. Instead, he acts decisively, loves deeply, and leaves a legacy of virtue and strength. Habit 9. Practicing gratitude. Gratitude is often underestimated in a world obsessed with achievement, acquisition, and constant striving. Yet it is one of the most profound and transformative habits a man can cultivate. At its core, gratitude shifts your focus away from what you lack and toward what you already possess, both materially and immaterially. This shift grounds you in appreciation for the present moment and nurtures a contentment that no amount of external success alone can create. When gratitude becomes a daily practice, it fosters resilience, emotional strength, and a quiet, unshakable confidence. The Stoics recognize gratitude as an essential part of a virtuous life. Seneca observed, "He is a great man who uses earthen things as if they were gold, and uses gold as if it were not earthen." This teaches that the true value lies not in possessions themselves, but in how you regard them. When you practice gratitude, you learn to see the ordinary as extraordinary, to find richness in everyday experiences like a warm meal, a kind word, or the simple breath of life. Such awareness prevents you from falling into the trap of endless dissatisfaction and craving. Gratitude cultivates perspective, an indispensable tool for emotional resilience. Life inevitably presents challenges, setbacks, and pain. Yet, a man grounded in gratitude acknowledges these difficulties without allowing them to consume his outlook. He recognizes the good that persists amidst hardship, the loyalty of a friend, the lessons learned from failure, the strength found in endurance. This balanced view softens despair and nurtures hope, empowering him to confront adversity with steady resolve and clear purpose. In practical terms, cultivating gratitude is a discipline requiring intentionality. This might take the form of journaling, where you list things you are thankful for each day, or quiet moments of reflection to acknowledge the gifts in your life. Some men begin their mornings by reminding themselves of what they have, rather than what they want. Others express gratitude through acts of kindness or service, reinforcing the interconnectedness that the Stoics revered. These practices train the mind to seek out positives, rewiring habitual thoughts away from scarcity and complaint. Gratitude also engenders humility, a recognition of one's place within the vast network of people, nature, and time. This humility is not weakness, but strength. It grounds you firmly in reality and fosters a respectful awareness of life's fragility and interconnectedness. Such an outlook deepens your empathy and enriches your relationships. You become someone who appreciates not only what you have, but also the contributions and presence of others in your life. The transformative power of gratitude is evident in how it shapes your interactions. People are naturally drawn to those who radiate genuine appreciation because it signals emotional maturity and inner peace. Gratitude fosters a warmth that invites connection and trust. It makes you approachable, steady, and authentically magnetic, qualities that no superficial charm or performance can replicate. Ultimately, practicing gratitude is not a passive feeling, but an active choice, a habit of the mind and heart that molds how you perceive and engage with the world. It creates a foundation upon which all other virtues can grow, enabling you to live not in pursuit of endless desire, but in celebration of life's abundance. Through gratitude, you become a man who carries a quiet strength, one that is deeply attractive because it springs from authenticity, wisdom, and an unwavering appreciation for the present moment. Habit 10. The dichotomy of control. At the heart of Stoicism lies one of its most transformative teachings, the dichotomy of control. This principle divides everything in life into two categories: what lies within your power to change and what lies beyond it. Embracing this habit is like unlocking a secret door to freedom. It allows a man to direct his energy with precision, preserving his peace of mind while acting decisively where it truly matters. Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher who rose from slavery to wisdom, said plainly, "Some things are up to us, and some are not." He taught that confusion about this fact is the root of much human suffering. When a man tries to control things beyond his reach, other people's opinions, natural events, or the outcome of situations, he wastes energy and invites frustration. But when he focuses solely on what he can control, his thoughts, choices, and actions, he gains sovereignty over his inner world. Living by this principle transforms the way a man approaches life's challenges. Consider the workplace, where so much is uncertain. Deadlines shift, colleagues disagree, results vary. A man grounded in the dichotomy of control accepts that he cannot command every outcome, yet he focuses relentlessly on his own preparation, effort, and response. This shift frees him from anxiety and fuels resilience, as he no longer feels victimized by external chaos, but empowered by internal mastery. This habit also fosters emotional intelligence. When anger or fear arise, the practiced Stoic asks, "Can I change this?" If not, he cultivates acceptance and lets go. If yes, he takes deliberate action, guided by reason and virtue. This mindful approach conserves mental energy and cultivates tranquility, a state the Stoics called ataraxia, or freedom from disturbance. In everyday life, mastering this habit means choosing your battles wisely. It means not sweating over criticism you cannot influence, not regretting mistakes you cannot undo, and not fearing future events you cannot predict. Instead, you invest in your own character, your decisions, and your attitudes, the true domain of control. The man who embodies the dichotomy of control becomes a steady anchor in the storm. Others feel drawn to his calm presence because it offers certainty amid uncertainty. His serenity is not passivity, but profound strength. The strength that arises from knowing where your power lies and acting within it. Ultimately, the dichotomy of control is a dance between humility and power. It demands the humility to accept what you cannot change and the courage to act decisively where you can. By mastering this habit, you become a man who navigates life's unpredictability with grace, focus, and unshakable freedom, qualities that define true attraction and leadership. Habit 11, consistency and reliability. In a world that often rewards flash and novelty, few qualities carry the quiet power of consistency and reliability. These traits are the unseen pillars that support lasting respect, deep trust, and undeniable attraction. The man who practices consistency is one who honors his word, not only in grand moments, but in the small everyday decisions that define character. It is through repeated, faithful action, day after day, that he builds a reputation far more enduring than any momentary success or fleeting impression. Stoicism teaches that virtue is not merely an ideal to admire, but a practice to embody relentlessly. Marcus Aurelius admonished himself, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." This simple but profound directive calls for daily disciplined living in alignment with one's principles. Consistency transforms abstract ideals into tangible reality. It's the difference between speaking about values and living them authentically in every choice and interaction. Reliability, the outward manifestation of consistency, is the quality that makes a man indispensable. People instinctively gravitate toward those who show up, who do what they say, and who can be trusted when circumstances are difficult or uncertain. It is in the moments of crisis, disappointment, or temptation that reliability is tested and proven. The man who remains steadfast in adversity not only earns respect, but inspires loyalty. His presence becomes a source of stability in a chaotic world. Living consistently also nurtures self-respect. When your actions match your promises, you cultivate trust within yourself. This inner alignment creates confidence that radiates outward, protecting you from the inner turmoil born of hypocrisy or indecision. Self-betrayal is a silent enemy that corrodes strength. Consistency is the armor that guards against it. It allows you to face life's uncertainties with composure, knowing that you stand firm in your commitments. Developing this habit requires patience and intentionality. It begins by honoring the small promises you make to yourself. Waking up on time, completing daily tasks, speaking honestly, and treating others with respect. These seemingly minor acts are the building blocks of greater reliability. Over time, they accumulate into a formidable force that shapes your reputation and influence. In relationships, work, and personal growth, consistency is the foundation upon which trust is built. It is not flashy or glamorous, but it is powerful beyond measure. The world may be filled with distractions, broken commitments, and fleeting trends, but the man who embodies consistency and reliability is a rare constant. This rarity makes him magnetic. In the end, consistency and reliability are the silent guarantees of a man's character. They speak louder than words and leave a lasting impression because they reveal a man who can be counted on, no matter the circumstances. This unwavering steadiness is one of the most attractive forces a man can cultivate, an enduring legacy that echoes long after the moment has passed. Habit 12. The practice of reflection. Reflection is like holding a mirror up to your soul, a deliberate pause to see yourself clearly, beyond the noise and distractions of daily life. Without this habit, a man drifts through his days unmoored, caught in cycles of reactive behavior rather than intentional growth. But with regular reflection, he gains the power to transform experience into wisdom, mistakes into lessons, and fleeting impulses into lasting virtue. The Stoics understood reflection as essential to self-mastery. Marcus Aurelius' meditations serve as a profound example. His private journal of honest self-examination, written to hold himself accountable and align with his highest ideals. Imagine sitting by a quiet fire after a long day, sifting through the moments that passed. What did you do well? Where did you fall short? What lessons can guide tomorrow's actions? This ritual sharpens the mind like a whetstone sharpens a blade. Reflection is not about harsh self-judgment or guilt. It is more like a gardener tending to his plants, removing the weeds with care so that new growth can flourish. It requires humility to recognize one's flaws without despair and courage to confront uncomfortable truths without retreat. The man who reflects is both his own fiercest critic and most loyal supporter, continually refining himself through honest evaluation. In today's fast-paced world, reflection can take many forms. A moment of stillness before sleep, journaling thoughts and emotions, or simply pausing in the middle of the day to check in with oneself. These practices create sacred spaces amid chaos, moments where the mind quiets and clarity emerges. Like a lighthouse cutting through fog, reflection guides decisions and actions back toward true north. Consider the example of a skilled athlete reviewing footage after a game. By studying his performance, strengths and weaknesses alike, he grows stronger, more precise. Similarly, a man who practices reflection learns from his daily choices, growing wiser and more resilient. This habit deepens emotional intelligence, helping him discern which impulses to follow and which to temper, which distractions to discard, and which values to prioritize. Ultimately, reflection is the compass that steers a man's life toward virtue and purpose. It bridges intention with action, past with future, self with meaning. The man who makes reflection a habit becomes a living embodiment of growth, integrity, and quiet strength. Qualities that not only shape his character, but radiate outward, drawing others toward his presence. Habit 13. Practicing temperance. Temperance is the ancient art of balance, a discipline that tames desire, tempers action, and steadies emotion. In a world consumed by extremes and excess, is the quiet virtue that guards a man against the chaos of overindulgence and the hollowness of deprivation. Temperance is not about denial or asceticism, but about mastering the ability to enjoy life's pleasures without losing oneself to them. It cultivates clarity of mind, steadiness of purpose, and a peace that arises from harmony within. The Stoics held temperance as one of the 4 cardinal virtues, foundational to all others. Seneca's wisdom still echoes. It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor. This insight reveals that poverty is a state of mind born from insatiable desire rather than scarcity. When a man lives with temperance, he understands that unchecked cravings, whether for food, power, wealth, or approval, fracture the soul and scatter the mind. True wealth is found in moderation and self-mastery. Temperance extends far beyond the visible realms of appetite and consumption. It touches every facet of life. How a man allocates his time, the tone of his speech, the intensity of his pursuits. It is the internal compass that signals when to push forward and when to pull back, when to speak and when to listen, when to act and when to wait. This measured approach cultivates endurance, preventing burnout and fostering sustainable growth. Practicing temperance is a daily exercise in mindfulness and restraint. It might look like choosing rest over overwork, deciding to speak only after reflection rather than in haste, or consciously limiting distractions like excessive screen time or meaningless social engagements. These choices, small as they may seem, accumulate to build a life marked by balance and intentionality, a life where energy is preserved for what truly matters. Temperance also liberates. When a man is not enslaved by his impulses, he gains the freedom to live authentically and with purpose. He does not become a slave to fleeting pleasures or destructive habits that drain vitality and blur judgment. Instead, he operates from a place of sovereignty, a ruler over his desires and emotions, guided by reason rather than whim. This sovereignty is a silent power that commands respect and inspires confidence. Moreover, temperance fosters deep self-respect and humility. It requires the strength to say no to immediate gratification in service of higher goals, the patience to endure discomfort for long-term benefit. and the wisdom to recognize that not all desires merit pursuit. This disciplined moderation brings a profound sense of peace, a freedom from the restless dissatisfaction that plagues so many. In relationships and social settings, temperance manifests as emotional balance, resisting the urge to react impulsively to criticism, practicing patience during conflict, and maintaining composure amid chaos. This emotional moderation not only enhances interpersonal harmony, but also projects an aura of maturity and control that is deeply attractive. Ultimately, temperance is the silent guardian of character and well-being. It enables a man to navigate the complexities of life with grace and steadiness, maintaining an inner harmony that resonates outward. This balance is not merely a personal virtue, but a magnetic quality, an expression of a man who has mastered himself and walks through the world aligned with his highest values. Habit 14. Cultivating courage. Courage is often misunderstood as the absence of fear, but true courage is acting rightly despite fear. It is the steadfast resolve to face challenges, discomfort, and uncertainty with a calm and determined spirit. The man who cultivates courage does not seek recklessness, but embraces deliberate bravery, a willingness to stand firm for what is right, even when it is difficult or unpopular. The Stoics revered courage as one of the 4 cardinal virtues, essential for living a life of honor and integrity. Seneca reminded us that courage is not simply one of the virtues, but the form of every virtue at the testing point. This means that courage underpins every act of wisdom, justice, and temperance. Without courage, virtues remain theoretical. With courage, they become lived reality. Courage manifests in countless ways: speaking truth when silence is easier, taking responsibility for one's actions, enduring hardship without complaint, or confronting one's own weaknesses honestly. It requires strength to break free from the comfort of conformity and to face the unknown with confidence. This habit shapes character by teaching a man to meet fear with resolve, transforming vulnerability into power. In practical terms, courage is the willingness to do what must be done, regardless of the potential risks or discomfort. It may mean standing up for your values in difficult conversations, pursuing meaningful goals despite uncertainty, or embracing change when it challenges familiar patterns. Each act of courage builds momentum, reinforcing the habit until bravery becomes second nature. The Stoics understood that courage is not the absence of fear, but mastery over it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment." Courage begins with controlling one's perceptions and choosing to act with reason and virtue, regardless of fear's presence. Courage also fosters resilience, the ability to recover from setbacks and persist in the face of adversity. A man who embodies courage does not avoid failure or difficulty. Instead, he learns and grows through them. This resilience is a quiet force that inspires others, demonstrating that true strength lies in perseverance, not just victory. Ultimately, cultivating courage is about embracing the discomfort of growth, facing life's challenges head-on, and living authentically. It is the foundation of a life well-lived and a presence deeply respected. Courage is not only a shield, but a beacon, lighting the way for others while guiding oneself toward the highest good. Habit 15. Living with purpose. Purpose is the guiding star that directs a man's life, giving meaning to his actions and clarity to his choices. Without purpose, life drifts aimlessly, caught in cycles of distraction and fleeting desires. The man who lives with purpose moves through the world with intention and resolve, driven by values that transcend momentary pleasure or external approval. Purpose aligns every decision with a larger vision, creating a life of coherence and significance. The Stoics believed that living according to nature meant fulfilling one's unique role with excellence and virtue. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work, as a human being." This reminder anchors a man in his duty, emphasizing that each day presents an opportunity to act in accordance with his highest self. Purpose is not an abstract ideal, but a practical compass for daily living. Purpose shapes resilience. When challenges arise, a man anchored in purpose endures because he knows why he perseveres. He views obstacles as tests, not as walls. Purpose fuels discipline, motivating him to rise even when motivation wanes. It transforms mundane tasks into meaningful steps toward a larger goal, imbuing his life with direction and energy. Living with purpose also fosters authenticity. It calls a man to align his actions with his values, rejecting the pull of societal expectations or superficial success. Purpose demands honesty to oneself and others, and cultivates integrity. This alignment brings inner peace and a quiet confidence that resonates outward, drawing others toward a man who is fully himself. In practical terms, cultivating purpose begins with reflection and clarity. It requires asking difficult questions. What matters most? What legacy do I want to leave? What virtues will guide me? Answering these questions is an ongoing process, deepened by experience and learning. Purpose evolves, but remains the anchor in life's storms. Ultimately, living with purpose is the culmination of all other Stoic habits. It integrates self-control, courage, wisdom, and compassion into a coherent way of being. A man who lives with purpose carries a presence that is both inspiring and reassuring. A man who not only survives, but thrives, shaping his destiny with intention and grace. Closing section: the journey to undeniable attraction. These 15 Stoic habits are not quick fixes or superficial tricks. They are the foundations of a life built on purpose, discipline, and virtue. Becoming undeniably attractive is not about chasing external approval or fleeting desires. It is about becoming the man who commands respect through his character, presence, and quiet strength. Each habit is a step on a path that requires commitment, courage, and honest reflection. It is a lifelong journey of mastery over self, a daily practice of aligning thoughts, words, and actions with the highest ideals. This journey is not easy, but it is deeply rewarding. It transforms not only how others see you, but how you see yourself. Remember, the power of these habits lies in their consistency. No one becomes great overnight. The man who embodies these virtues does so through steady effort, through moments of struggle and triumph alike. He understands that true attraction is not loud or flashy. It is steady, reliable, and rooted in authenticity. So ask yourself, which habit will you commit to today? Which step will you take on your path toward becoming undeniably attractive? Your future self depends on the choices you make right now. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to our channel for more Stoic wisdom. See you in the next video.